Welcome to Tangent PropTech, where real estate meets innovation and goes a bit off script. I'm Edward Cohen, PropTech entrepreneur and your host, alongside my co-hosts and PropTech venture capitalists Jeffrey Berman and Zach Ahrens. On this show, we bring on a guest who's shaping the future of real estate. We dive into housing innovation, climate tech, the future of work, and everything transforming our buildings and cities. And of course, we go on some tangents. If you work in real estate, prop tech, development, or if you're just obsessed with making buildings and cities better, this show is for you. Because the best real estate ideas start with a tangent. If you're building something impactful in real estate or tech and want to reach our audience of decision makers, investors, and operators, email us. That's tangentcommunity@gmail.com.
Hi, I'm Edward Cohen. Welcome to Tangent.
I'm Jeff Berman. Welcome to Tangent. Just kidding. Jeff invaded my soul for a second. I'm actually Zach Ahrens. Welcome to Tangent.
Listeners can't even tell. Fascinating. Today on Tangent, we have Eliza Lochner, Head of Marketing at Airbnb. Hi, Eliza. Where does this podcast find you?
Hi, I am just outside of San Francisco in a little village called Mill Valley in Northern California.
Beautiful. Let's jump right into it. Airbnb Friendly Program. So this is a program that you guys launched around 3 years ago to partner with renters and landlords of multifamily buildings. Tell us more about this program and why now and how is it doing?
Yeah, what we launched 3 years ago was sort of an evolution of the Airbnb Friendly Buildings program, which was launched probably like 14 years ago. But the Airbnb Friendly program was not only designed to help partners open up their rental apartments to allow their residents to host and earn extra money, but also giving them the controls and the transparency into that hosting activity. And then they could also set rules around that, making sure it's compliant with any local regulations or any policies they have in their building, quiet hours, and so forth. And then they could also elect to take like a share of their residents' booking revenue. And same time, we launched 3 years ago, which was kind of an innovation, was a marketplace for renters, consumers to really find all these places. So we are aggregating these buildings. It can be sometimes difficult to find a building that allows you to host on Airbnb. So we wanted to make that easier for renters. I think a lot of people agree that housing affordability is something people really care about. We know that 50% of renters in the United States are cost burdened, which means they spend more than 30% of their income on rent. And so this hosting can be a way for renters to just earn a little extra, earn a little income. And then it also sort of supports flexibility, which has been a trend in the last 5 years, especially I think kind of accelerated during the pandemic. And we sort of see that like teleworking has stayed. It's not quite what it was in 2020, 2021. But today, 34 million Americans still have the ability and still work part-time. So a lot of people really appreciate the extra flexibility from that work lifestyle and then the ability to take a longer vacation, work remotely for a bit, and be able to offset and help cover some living expenses while they're on.
I think it's fascinating and it's, such a timely revamp of the program, not only making sure that incentives are aligned with your partners, the property owners and the property managers, but also ultimately the renters who, as you said, double clicking on that stat, nearly half of renters in the US are spending over 30% of income on rent. That's over 22 million households. That's a staggering number. And hosting on Airbnb is something that a lot of landlords know it's probably happening anyway, whether they like it or not. How are you giving landlords and property managers control, transparency, and making sure that the experience in their buildings is not impacted by hosting on Airbnb?
Yeah, so we develop tools, software that, we have a dashboard, Airbnb friendly tools where the property manager or the owner has visibility into that hosting activity. So literally you have a dashboard where you can see all the properties that you have made Airbnb friendly. You can see all the residents in those buildings that are hosting. You can see guest check-ins, set rules around for guests and hosts. So you can set those controls. So you can set night limits for the amount nights your residents can host. So you can have it be whatever you want it to be. And then you can also set rules across your entire building for all your hosts so that like all Airbnb guests have to agree to the same building rules. So no smoking, no events, no pets, so that all your residents, there are house rules like take off your shoes when you come into my home that the host can still set, wash your dishes when you leave, whatever the rules that the host wants to set for that stay, their unit. But then the building gets to set sort of like building wide rules, like quiet hours are between 10 and 8. Trash needs to go here. And this is the fee that you'll be charged if that rule isn't followed. So the expectations are really set very clearly by the building for any resident if they want to host, and also for all the guests. So that's all upfront in the listing, and they agree to that before they book. So it really just helps set expectations with everybody. So it has gone really, really smoothly. We've had very high quality reviews and ratings across the program over the last 3 years. We have average stay from a guest perspective is 4.8 out of 5, and that's over 17,000 reviews. And then on the host side, rating the guest, it's 4.9. They say these guests are coming in and respecting my house rules, and I'm really happy with the guests who are coming in. So we see high quality stays mutual from the guests and the hosts.
That's interesting. So if I understand correctly, you've grown the program from 175 Airbnb friendly buildings to nearly 1,300. That's, scale of 7x. How have you accomplished that? How have you driven that growth?
Yeah, well, part of it, and I've been really focused on apartments here, we also have expanded to the for sale side of things. So we are working also with condo developers, townhomes, what have you. So we're not only working with multifamily sort of rental apartment owners, but we also are working on the for sale kind of development side. So that's one way we've expanded. We've also expanded internationally. So we are now in the UK and Brazil and Canada. Still just smaller there. The concentration still is in the US. The bulk of our properties are in the US today, but we are seeing sort of other markets want this program. And so we have been expanding. I think it also, especially in the multifamily side, we work with some of the biggest partners out there, and oftentimes they'll come on with maybe a smaller batch of properties, do a little pilot, launch things. Wow, this is great. Like my residents, no one's revolting. Sometimes there'll be a one person saying, hey, I don't want Airbnb here. And it's actually been great for the property managers to be able to say, this is actually with controls. This is actually with a set of rules. This is actually with visibility. So it gives a lot more peace of mind, or it can give peace of mind to sort of all residents, even if you don't want to host. And also the benefit of having your friends and family stay in the building, even if you don't want to host, you're kind of like, oh, but maybe I can have my mother-in-law stay in a different unit than my own for a week or what have you. So once that happened, partners then want to expand. And so we have a lot of partners large partners. We have 5 out of 7 publicly traded REITs as partners. I think it's like 16 out of the top 50 NMHC managers. Those are partners who have really big portfolios. And so then they expand in their portfolios. So that's one of the ways we've been able to kind of accelerate growth.
Awesome. Zach, curious your thoughts on not only the Airbnb friendly program, but also how it may impact tenant attraction, investor attraction, and how it could improve the brand perception, the overall experience of buildings. I'm not sure if this is something that has come across your desk from your LP side or other tech providers that you've looked at that may want to partner with Airbnb or are working around the experience in multifamily and condo and co-op development.
Yeah, I would say flexibility has been a theme of our investment thesis since we started Metaprop 10 years ago. In this case, I'm even comfortable speaking for my more handsome competitor, Jeff Berman at Camber Creek, because we actually funded and helped incubate a business that's now called Placemaker. We did that together. And that business provides software and infrastructure to allow landlords and property managers to operate their assets flexibly. So some of the building could be on what would be your more traditional 12-month lease, and then some other units are able to be on a more flexible day rate type of situation that you're more likely to see in a traditional hotel. And that might seem simple because at the end of the day, you're just leasing the unit either for 1 day or 365 days plus. However, the way landlords and property managers think about that and manage that is actually quite different. So that business actually spun out of Vornado Realty Trust. So one of the largest, mostly office REITs, but they have a pretty sizable apartment portfolio as well. So we were seeing the need for it from our institutional limited partners, from the larger real estate ecosystem, as Eliza was mentioning, from some large REITs, some of the largest multifamily property owners, condominium developers as well, looking to get in on the action. I think at the end of the day, it's about providing the tenant with a great experience that ultimately boosts the NOI of the asset. And we're in a world and environment where people are working in a hybrid structure, they're traveling all the time, they're not necessarily owning assets in the way that's not necessarily, we've spoken about it many times in this podcast, but that's not necessarily everybody's goal anymore to be sedentary and own a bunch of assets. It's people's goal now to have experiences and have flexibility. And so any program that delivers the customer what they want, which is flexibility, and the landlord what they want, which is higher NOI, that program is going to continue to grow, whether it's Airbnb's program, whether it's Placemaker's program, whether it's Casa, which is another player in the space, whether it's their program. So we remain bullish on that trend, continuing to grab market share from your more traditional 1-year lease multifamily structure. There's no reason, if you ask anyone in the sector, why are leases 1 year? They'll say, because they've always been that way. They will not provide you a cogent argument for why that is the vast majority of the lease term. And so we believe this trend of convergence from multifamily and hotel will continue. Hotels, in one way, they're great assets because you can lease and reprice every single night. And if prices are going up every night, that's fantastic. However, you don't have the certainty of being able to lock everybody in. You have to fill an entire building every night. And so people are looking for a combination of the certainty and the predictability of the cash flows of a traditional multifamily asset with the opportunity for NOI juicing that a hotel or an Airbnb provides.
Let's talk about the NOI juicing or the revenue share, better said. What kind of incentives are we looking at in terms of the revenue shared with partners?
Yeah, so it's a setting in that dashboard or that tool I was describing. So as a platform, we don't set pricing. The host sets their nightly price, right? Their average daily rate. And then the partner sets their booking revenue share. So we see most partners today doing about 10 to 25% of each booking, basically each night. So the more cut they take, that limits the amount of hosting activity your residents may do, because it's got to be worth it for the resident. So, in some locations, if you can charge enough average daily rate, it may be fine. If you have maybe a 3-bedroom unit in downtown San Diego or something and people are willing to pay, like it may be fine. That's just an example and a hypothetical. But we also are seeing that's a lever that our partners are exploring. If they want to see more host activation, if they want to see more booking output, they can lower their revenue share and then actually get more overall ancillary revenue. So it's something that is probably shifting. Today, that's the range we see. But certainly and then on the condo side, it's like zero, because these are like owners. And so like an HOA isn't even taking a share. I mean, they could if they wanted to agree, like, let's take a share, and I don't know, maybe they could and pay for the roof. But on the for sale side, they're not even taking a rev share. They're just using the tools to make sure sort of some of the shared common interest things are being adhered to.
And you really are facing we're facing a paradigm shift, and Airbnb is driving it, in the sense that, like, a few years ago, it would have been unthinkable in some of these new development condo bylaws that, like, you'll be able to put on short-term rental platforms, right? Or allow guests that you don't know, or without you, the owner, being there, to stay. But now the script has been flipped. Not only that condo owner needs to pay a mortgage that is higher than it was at least a couple of years ago, but also if they're not using it 100% of the time, or if it's a second home, that's when, like, you're buying 100% of the ownership, 100% of the worry, when you use it only 10-20% of the year. So I think Airbnb is really providing a critical option here for the condo owners to monetize their unused space.
As you were saying, especially on the developer side, where it's pre-built, so they're in sales, but they are selling condos that do not exist yet. So we're kind of getting into the bylaws at the beginning, which is very helpful. They could just say short-term rentals. And often with the laws are such that it's not exclusive to Airbnb, right? Like in multifamily in our program, because the multifamily manager wants to make sure their residents are only on Airbnb, so that they have that transparency. They don't want them on other platforms because they can't see what is happening. But in the ownership side, they often cannot mandate that the owner is only doing short-term rental activity on a certain platform. But the ability to say, hey, this building is Airbnb friendly, gives that branding, gives them a lot of breakthrough, gives them a lot of awareness, gives them a lot of trust, so that the buyer is like, I can have that flexibility if I need it, if I'm not going to use this as much as I want to, if this is my second home and my kids end up doing sports every weekend and I never come here. It might be personal. So it gives you that trust. And then our partners see that it helps with sales velocity. It helps them sell out faster. So branding from a marketing perspective, code branding is valuable when you can get breakthrough, when you can get badges of trust, when you can have those types of symbols. It can really support your sales efforts. And certainly with the developers we've partnered with so far, that's kind of what they've told us.
And building trust with buildings, with developers, with managers, it's at the very core of what a marketplace does, a marketplace like Airbnb. What do you say to the still skeptical property managers who think Airbnb hosting means frat parties and lost keys?
We try to have them talk to our partners and talk to our hosts. We did this great panel at headquarters. There was a multifamily council meeting, and we got them to come for a different kind of meeting. And we invited them to our headquarters, had lunch, and we had partners and an Airbnb friendly host. He's very experienced. He also is an ambassador, so sort of meets certain quality bars, and he helps educate his fellow residents about the program and if they want to become a host. So he spoke to the group, and with the partners, mostly not operations people, very like executive, kind of on the asset management side. He's an older gentleman, so not exactly who they're thinking about, who's an Airbnb friendly host, like not frat parties, right? He's like in his 60s. He's a grandfather. And he emphasized that it's not only the settings that they're putting in place, those night limits, the hey, make sure the guests have a good track record. Like you can stipulate all these things on the tool side. He's like, but this is my home. Like I'm vetting these people. I'm putting checks in place. He's like, I live here. My art is on the walls. My wine collection is here. Like this is my real bed. I want it to be nice when I'm here too. And so I'm filtering people, that kind of gut sense, those spidey senses, where somebody makes a request and you're like, not feeling this or what have you. So he made that point, and I think it just really connected with people, like that kind of common sense a bit. And we had a lot of calls after that meeting. So I think sometimes people have a very like fixed sense and then of what a host is or what people are doing. And then we just show them testimonials. We have them speak to people. We have them talk to partners, and they hear a very different story. And so they say, okay, we'll try it in this like limited controlled fashion. And like I said, then we haven't had a partner who doesn't expand.
The future of real estate comes together again next September at Blueprint in Las Vegas. You'll join more than 900 built world executives and over 850 startups and investors who are shaping how the industry works from construction to transaction. With trillions of dollars in assets represented and some of the world's best innovators under one roof, this is where the future of the built world takes shape. Blueprint 2026 will be held at the Venetian, Las Vegas from September 22nd to 24th. Tangent listeners can save $300 on an all-access pass by visiting blueprintvegas.com/tangent. That's blueprintvegas.com/tangent for $300 off your Blueprint all-access pass.
Let's talk about channel partners and distribution. You've partnered with platforms like Apartment List and Zumper. So what's the broader ecosystem strategy for getting the Airbnb friendly message in front of more renters and more owners?
Thank you for bringing those up. So we have a recent partnership with Apartment List, one of the bigger platforms for rental discovery. And our approach is we want to make it easy for buyers to find Airbnb friendly buildings. So when a platform like Apartment List wants to partner with us, they created a filter and a badge on their platform so that their shoppers can find properties that allow hosting. We're thrilled. We want to partner with those types of partners. So we are bullish on that. We work with our partners not only to market the program on their property website, in their buildings, email marketing to their residents and their prospects, but we're working with their CRM partners. And we recently announced also that we're working with Entrata to integrate with them and surface the program. We also have on landing pages that we make for partners, we highlight the listings in the building. If the resident says, yes, please like merchandise me on this listing, so that it makes it really easy for my neighbors to tell their mother-in-law to book my unit, because otherwise you're kind of like searching on the platform and trying to guess like which listing is in that building. And so we're working with Entrata to help prospects be able to really experience the community before they move in. So kind of staying a night before leasing. And so that's something we're kind of like exploring with Entrata and any partner that uses the Entrata platform for their property website or other marketing functions.
Let's talk about how you're working with a segment of the hotel industry, which I think is quite interesting, boutique hotels. So you started with home sharing and now there are boutique hotels on Airbnb. So how did these partnerships come to be, and how are they similar or different than your traditional home sharing?
I mean, Airbnb has actually had boutique hotels for a while on the platform. I feel like not like a ton, but people maybe just don't obviously associate Airbnb with hotels for many reasons. Airbnb acquired Hotel Tonight years ago. Every stay is not always you're looking for a home. Sometimes hotels are perfect for what you want. And we also sometimes have so much demand in certain top markets that we want our searchers to be able to find what they're looking for, and boutique and independent hotels can really help sort of supplement our home supply. And so we recently launched a feature in New York and Madrid and Los Angeles highlighting the hotel inventory. So it's a little easier if that is inventory you're interested in, a searcher is interested in, it's easier to discover that hotel inventory in those markets. And so Airbnb is spending a lot of time thinking about the hotel business and really focusing on the independent and boutique types of hotels. And
I think it's a match made in heaven. I mean, like you said, especially when there are big events happening, or, you've aggregated the demand and the supply in a given market, like perfectly looking boutique hotels are available. Why not? Now let's talk about events, because that's something that is not only near and dear to how Airbnb started, right? Back in the day with Brian and Joe renting out their air mattresses for a design conference in town where hotels were all booked. And any big event, small event, Airbnb is at the center of it. And we have a couple coming up in the form of the World Cup and the Olympics. So for the World Cup, you've invested over $1 million in local New York and New Jersey community programs for the 2026 World Cup. So what do you have planned? How do you prepare for such an occasion? There's an expectation of between 5 to 6 million tourists coming just for that month alone. So yeah, what's your strategy around it?
yes, well, I can't speak to the entire partnership strategy because I don't work on that team, but I can say that, and you sort of already referenced it, we know that events are a huge driver of travel, and we have this huge compression of accommodations. So we also know that that is a huge catalyst to getting new hosts onto the platform, getting new homes. And we partner with cities, we partner with local host communities to make that happen. From a real estate perspective, we have buildings, Airbnb friendly buildings in a lot of these FIFA markets. And so we're certainly leveraging the partnership to make sure the residents in those buildings and those communities are aware that FIFA is coming, that travelers are looking. If that's something they want to take advantage of, they can. I think our partners are also excited that that is sort of a new news marketing lever, a way to kind of excite their residents, drive some new activation or new booking activity. So that's kind of how we're approaching it. There's a huge partnerships team and supply operations team internally that we work with kind of cross-functionally. So they putting on everything from like very local grassroots events where existing hosts and people interested in hosting can kind of learn, get assistance, to also having marketing support, both to Airbnb guests and hosts, educating them, as well as external marketing to drive more hosts, support those efforts.
Just for context, during Taylor Swift's Eras tour in LA, over 30,000 Airbnb guests booked a stay. That's just the biggest artist on earth, but it's just one time. So the World Cup should be absolutely massive.
I was looking just the other day, we announced that one of the partnerships, the community investments you were referencing for Houston, Airbnb invested $1 million in Houston, and Deloitte did a study that they're projecting this sounds like wild to me, $372 million in projected GDP for Airbnb guest spending for Houston, just for Houston.
Just for Houston. Wow.
So
Wow,
like
Houston, we don't have a problem.
Yeah, 31,000 guests are expected to stay on Airbnb in Houston during the FIFA World Cup. Almost $400 million, the equivalent of 1,500 full-time jobs supported through that Airbnb guest spending, and $3,000 expected in supplemental income for local Airbnb hosts. So,
Wow, that's staggering. I mean, just for a little less relevant context, but Costa Rica not qualifying to the World Cup is going to cost the economy around $100 million, which is very significant for us. But clearly, it's a drop in the bucket for the $400 million that it's going to be generated just in Houston alone by Airbnb guests. So there you go. Eliza, what's next for the Airbnb friendly buildings program? Are you looking to add more buildings, more visibility, deeper integrations?
All of the above. Yes, we are continuing to expand more buildings, more opportunities for renters, and on the for sale side. We're also sort of expanding on the for sale side. So looking and sort of focusing not only on the Airbnb friendly apartments and the rentals, but more of those Airbnb friendly buildings on the for sale side and more of those types of partnerships. Looking to do more of the types of apartment list and Entrada partnerships and that kind of real estate ecosystem. We want to raise awareness of the Airbnb friendly program among consumers, among developers, and among that technology rental resident experience continuum, because we think is the easier it is for buildings to just not only turn it on, but then market it and integrate it, the easier it's going to be for residents to take advantage of hosting. Yeah, that's what we're looking to do.
And I can tell you it's certainly happening, and not only in the US. In San Jose, Costa Rica, where I'm from, there's the entire new developments for sale that are being marketed to, designed for investors that want to put them on Airbnb. And this is San Jose, which is not even like a tourist market, right? People go to the beaches, people go to the rainforest. This is in the city. So the fact that in such a humbly small market, they're doing entire condo developments just for Airbnb, it's a good reception from the market, is all I'm saying. Last but not least, Eliza, collaboration superpower. If you could choose one person, historic or living, to collaborate with, to do a partnership with, who would it be?
Okay, this is a hard question because there's so many people, but I kind of went with first instinct since I could think about it. And I think Michelle Obama would be my collaborator. I just think she not only is an amazing leader and has sort of proven credibility and communication skills, but she's committed to sort of that equity and empowerment that really aligns with sort of the Airbnb values and I think our program values. And she is a creative thinker. She's got a great platform. I know that Airbnb sort of at large has partnered with the Obama Foundation in other ways. So I think Michelle, if she would partner with the Airbnb friendly program, could really bring a lot of value and some exciting ideas.
She'd be a great hostess. She'd have you custom tea, the folding the towels as a swan. She'll put attention to detail. Zach, who's your collaboration superpower this week?
Michelle Obama. Michelle and Barack Obama they just produced this Netflix special called Court of Gold. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's about all the basketball teams that were competing in the 2024 Olympics, which was a major boon, I would imagine, as well for Airbnb hosts and guests. But I toiled this week to find mine, and I tried to find the inventor of the bed and breakfast, but I failed. It is very challenging to know who actually invented the concept of the bed and breakfast, how long it's even been in existence. So, that said, I'm going to provide for you a fictional character this week as my collaboration superpower. The man Eumaeus. Now, Eumaeus was the most hospitable person in ancient Greece. He famously welcomes Odysseus while Odysseus is in disguise. He welcomes him into his home. He cooks him a meal, and he showcases the ancient Greek concept of xenia, which is the original idea behind hospitality. So I would love to collaborate with Eumaeus, even though he never really existed, because he is the actual embodiment of hospitality and served as a model for every decent Airbnb host currently operating.
Love it.
Oh, Zach's only here for the collaboration superpowers. Mind blowing.
I spend all week, every time we have a tangent, thinking about it. So, Eliza, do not be discouraged. My superpower is coming up with the collaboration superpower.
That was really good.
And then Jeff Berman will usually criticize it. He'll say something like, but how's that person actually going to help your business? And I'll say, enough with you. But he's not on the line today, so I can say whatever I want.
From
You can
far.
sense his criticism, right? I can sense it over the Zoom in the ether somehow. But he's not here to defend himself, so.
He's a symbol and inspiration. So maybe not your business, but Airbnb's business.
Eliza, where can Tangent listeners and landlords and developers and renters learn more about Airbnb Friendly program?
Airbnb.com/Airbnb-friendly. Airbnb Friendly would work too.
Eliza Lochner, Head of Marketing for Real Estate at Airbnb. Thank you so much for coming to Tangent today and sharing your experience, your work, and your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, and thank you for listening to this episode of Tangent PropTech. If you learned something new or enjoyed the conversation, text a friend the link to this episode right now. You can find links, resources, and ways to connect with us in the show notes, or reach out anytime at tangentcommunity@gmail.com. We love interview suggestions, topic ideas, or just a friendly hello. Tangent PropTech is co-hosted by me, Edward Cohen, along with Jeffrey Berman and Zach Aarons.